All right, here's a quick tutorial on how to do a very specific thing with Make.com and Airtable. So in this example, I want to update a certain record in my Airtable. So if I go to this table, for example, here's what I'm going to be referring to. So when I have this specific column or this field is referring to, it's a linked records field, right? So it's linking to a different table. And I want to be able to link to multiple options. And I want to do this simultaneously, or in other words, at once. The issue I was running into when I'm trying to do this with Make.com is originally I thought that the best idea would be to just iterate, like getting an array. So the output that I'm working with provides me with two options, what do you call that? Yeah, two options. Let's just use that word for lack of a better word. I want intestine and cardiovascular health. Those are both options that we want to have here. So you see I have intestine, cardiovascular health. They are existing records. I have a bunch of different kind of records and I want to just match them accordingly. Now, the issue that I was running into was that if I use the iterator method, in other words, if I did this is the wrong scenario. Let me go up here. If I were to use an iterator to iterate over each item in the array, what would happen is, come on, baby. There we go. What would happen is it would essentially update correctly, right? There was two options. We had cardiovascular health and intestine, but the problem was that it would only, because the updated record basically overrides whatever is existing in that record. So let's say it iterated intestine first, it populated intestine, and then cardiovascular health was next, and then it would override what existed. And so whatever was iterated last, that's what's going to be left. And so intestine would no longer be there, but rather cardiovascular health. Obviously, we don't want that. We want both of those linked records in there. So the way to do that is still you have to work with an array. And that's what I'm doing. The output of my AI is extracting or outputting an array. But what you need to do is find the field you're trying to update and turn on the map function, right? Just turn this tick on, and you just need to use the array, the raw array, not the, object within the array, and not iterating anything. Just use the array. It's very simple. It took me a while to figure it out, but I got it. And I wish I figured it out sooner, but it's very simple. And you have to remember, you need to turn on the map function. If you turn this off and do this like it is by default, what you're essentially telling Airtable is this is the first thing that I want to do, the first record I want to attach, because you would need to manually set exactly how many records you want to call. So let's say in this scenario, I had two. I would need to hard code two of them, but granted, that's not going to work. That's not going to be automated, because sometimes it may be 4, sometimes it may be 6, sometimes it may be 1, sometimes it may be 0. So you need to be able to do this dynamically. So the way to do that is to use the map function, and whatever is extracted from the array, that's what's going to populate accordingly. So let me show you with the history, the run that I did. So like I said, I had the analysis run and it found two variables, intestine and cardiovascular health. So it inputted that into the systems as an array, and it sees that as two separate records. One of them is intestine and one of them is cardiovascular health. And another little trick, normally when you're working with these kind of linked records, Airtable needs record IDs, but it has a really handy feature called Smart Links. Make sure you tick this on, because what Smart Link does is that it will do its best to identify the record by the text. So not the record ID, but rather the actual front end text. So for example, intestine and cardiovascular health, each of these have their own record IDs, but we don't know it, obviously, and we don't want to. The whole point of this is to be able to do this dynamically and automatically. So if we feed into the Airtable the word intestine, it's going to know to match with that record. Same thing with cardiovascular health, so on and so forth. So make sure you turn that on and it'll work perfectly. But yeah, I think that's about it. I can't think of any other thing I need to add to that. yeah, hope you guys found this useful. Took me a while to figure it out, but it's going to be very useful for me moving forward. If you guys have any questions or issues with make.com, I will do my best to find solutions for you guys and make quick and easy tutorials to solve those problems. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, be sure to subscribe, drop a comment, let me know that you enjoyed it and that you learned something. Thanks guys. See you soon.